Hi Stampers, this is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. Thanks for stopping by today. I have a new card to show you. This is called the Double Z Pop-Up Butterfly card. And if you'll notice, I have a little baker's twine in the center here. And when you untie it, my card opens to reveal the inside. And this is the pop-up part of it, is the butterflies. And this is all attached as one piece. I'm going to show you how to do that today. So let's get started with the list of supplies you'll need. You'll need a piece of Whisper White cardstock, 12 inches by 5.5 inches. Score at 2, 4, 8, and 10. And we'll do that in a minute. Whisper White, 4 3/4 by 3.25 inches. A small piece of Whisper White for the sentiment, which measures 1 inch by 4 3/4, 1 inch by 4 3/8 inch. And the end result of the banner is going to be 3.25 inches long, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. I want to apologize for the quality of my voice. I've had a cold for about 3 weeks now, so bear with me. You'll need 2 pieces of Bohemian Designer Series paper. Both pieces measure 5.25 inches by 1 3/4 inches. Bermuda Bay, 5.25 inches by 3 3/4 inches. And to save time, I've already cut my butterflies ahead of time. These are the 2 butterflies you'll need. You'll find them in the annual catalog on page 172 of our Framelits Dies. I used the small butterfly from the bold Butterfly Framelits and the medium butterfly from the Butterfly's Thinlits Dies. These 2 Framelits collections coordinate with our 2 of our butterfly stamp sets. The first one is watercolor wings. And what I do is I put a little magnetic sheet inside my stamp case so that my butterflies are right where I need them. And this is the one we're using today. The second stamp set is Butterfly Basics. And we're actually using the Happy Birthday sentiment from this stamp set. And again, I use a magnetic sheet on the inside. And we're using the medium-sized butterfly. You will also need white baker's twine, and just a little tip on the twine. I like all of my ribbon on a spool, so I save all my spools when they're empty because our baker's twine comes in a package like this, and I really hate having these laying around, so I save my ribbon spools and I put them on spools. A lot easier. You will also need the 1/8 inch handheld punch and white perfect accents. These are new in the annual catalog this year, and I keep them in a clear case, and I've printed a label to put on it. And finally, you'll need the Stampin' Up banner triple punch. This is a new banner punch, and I've made note on my grid here what the sizes are. You can punch 3 sizes with this new punch: 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and 2 inches. And the reason I stated we needed a larger piece of cardstock for the sentiment is because once you start cutting your pieces of cardstock, you lose a little bit on each size. This is a cheat sheet that I've made, and I'll have it available on my blog so you can print it. But today we're using the 1 inch size banner. So we're going to add 1 1/8 inch to the banner length before cutting, because you'll notice how much you lose on each side when you cut. And you'll see what I mean when I get to that portion of our card. So let's get started. I've just brought in my paper trimmer, and we're going to score. And if you remember right, we're going to score at 2, 4, 8, and 10. So I'm going to line up my cardstock at 2, 4, 8, and 10. And we're going to take our bone folder and press on the score lines. And the reason this card is called a Z fold is because it does look like a Z when it's folded. And we're doing a double Z, so that means the Z on both ends of each of the cardstock. So this is what your cardstock should look like when it's folded. And you can see the two Z's. Now we're going to bring in the larger framelit, and I'm going to get my big shot. And this is going to be the tricky portion of our card. We're going to do one end at a time. You're going to slide your cardstock piece in because we want the first score line. We're going to place our butterfly so that it's centered. And even the body part, you can see where I've got the body part centered on the score line. Now I'm going to push that in without the top clear plate or cutting plate. We're going to put the cutting plate on the score line. We're not going to put it over here because we don't want this portion to cut. So now you're going to start pushing until the big shot grabs. Run it through. Move this over so you can see. When I remove this, only half of the butterfly is cut. So now we're going to turn around and do that on the other side also. So we're going to flip this over. Now, in order for this to line up correctly, what I did is I folded this over and made sure my ends were even. And make sure you don't press over here because you don't want to crease in the center of your card. I'm going to lift up my butterfly and I'm going to use a pencil and just trace whoops, would help if I bring it up to the camera. Just trace a little bit on the outside there. Just enough so you have an outline of the butterfly so you'll know where to put your framelit. So again, we're going to put this in the big shot, line up the framelits with the pencil marks. And again, we're just going to lay the cutting plate on the score line. Use the bone folder to push it through until it grabs. And crank it through. And again, you're going to have your two pieces that are popped out. Now you can do one of two things. You can bring in your paper cutter and line up that first score line and cut everything but the butterfly. So you're going to cut right here and down here, leaving the butterfly intact. But I found when I tried to cut on the score line, it didn't cut very clean. So I prefer to do it with a pair of scissors because you have your score line as a guide anyway. So I'm going to cut this one, turn it around, and cut my second one. So there's your first butterfly, still intact. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. So now when you flip it over, you close your card and you flip your butterflies in the opposite direction. I'm going to use my bone folder to crease them So there's the beginnings of your card, and now we'll move on to adding our layers. We are going to work on the inside layers first, and if you'll notice on my card I had a butterfly on the inside, and I am flipping the colors around on this card, by the way. This one is mostly rich raspberry with Bermuda Bay, where I'm doing the opposite on this guy, and I'm adding Bermuda Bay with just a little bit of rich raspberry. So I'm going to stamp the small butterfly, and I'm only doing the detail on this because I'm going to glue this one on top and you'll have some of the color peeking through. So I'm going to bring in my Tombow glue, and I'm just going to add a couple dots here and there, just enough to glue it. You don't have to fill out the whole detail. And we'll flip this over and press it in place. Whoops. Of course, it's got stuck to my fingers. And now I'm going to flip this over and add some glue with my snail. I'm going to glue that to my Bermuda Bay layer. And then we're going to add adhesive to the back. And add this to the center of the card. So that completes the center portion. Now we bring in the designer paper. And we're going to glue that under each butterfly. There's the first one. Here's your second one. And now I'm going to use the rich raspberry butterfly, and I'm actually going to cut it in half. And add adhesive. Again, you don't need a whole lot. I'll do both while we're at it. And now we're going to layer those over the white portion of our butterfly. And those do line up perfectly. So there's one. And there's your second one. How cute is that? Now I'm going to bring in the paper punch, the handheld paper punch, and punch a small hole. Should let that dry a little bit longer. And we're going to cut a piece of baker's twine. And I don't really measure, I just cut a piece, probably about 1 foot long, just to give me enough room to play with when making my bow. Going to thread that through the 2 holes and make my bow. And if you've seen me make bows before, I start out with large loops and then I bring them in and tighten and bring them in again to the size that I want and tighten. And now we'll just trim them a little bit. So that keeps your card closed, and the recipient will just have to untie it to open it. Going to add some of the white perfect accents. And these are really neat. They come in 3 sizes. You can see the large, medium, and small. I really like these. I haven't tried to color them yet. I do want to try to color them with permanent markers because I think that will work. So we'll just add 3. And now we're going to move on to our banner. And remember that this piece is 1 inch by 4 3/8 inches. I'm going to slide it into the 1 inch slot, punch, turn it around, punch again. And this is how much I lose off of that piece of paper. So it's very important to add that extra 1 1/8 inch to your measurement when you decide how long of a banner you want. Now we're going to bring in the rich raspberry ink and our happy birthday. We're going to stamp that. Now, one important thing to remember when you glue your sentiment in place, you don't want to glue it the whole length of the card because you want the card to be able to open. So I've only glued half of it. So we're going to add glue to just half. And I'm going to center that between the butterfly and the bottom of my card. Press it in place. And there you have it. If you untie the baker's twine. You have your completed card. And again, I've used the same color combinations, but with the Bermuda Bay, the main focus on this card, and the rich raspberry, the main focus on this card. I hope you enjoyed my card for today. One tip I would have is to try cutting the butterfly framelit on a scrap piece of paper first, because you are only cutting half of the whole framelit. And your first try, you might not get it perfectly. Sorry about my voice. If you have any questions, please feel free to email or leave a comment on my YouTube video. Have a great day.